California real estate, what is happening here? We have population loss in some cities, yet the home prices are still skyrocketing in those same California cities that are shrinking. You'll learn why that is. $600,000 homes are just being given away to homeless people in LA to live in, and statewide, California prices have soared to a median price of over $908,000. And yeah, that's just for a mediocre pad, no fancy home. There's more. 2 entire California counties now have median values that have surged to over $2 million. Yes, just for the average home. You'll learn exactly where those are. Several astounding stories here. We're sorting it out and showing it to you on California Real Estate Today, because you know trends here often spread to the entire nation. Hi, I'm Keith Weinhold, Get Rich Education founder, Forbes Real Estate Council member, best-selling author, and longtime real estate investor. A grand opening ceremony was recently held for a high-rise building in downtown LA that will house homeless people. It's 278 units in this 19-story development known as Wiart Tower. It's intended to help people currently without shelter on Skid Row, and it's going to be LA's largest permanent support housing project. That's just one tower. There's expected to be a second and third tower as well. LA Mayor Karen Bass, she said, quote, "Skid Row is not just throwaway people, it's a community. And to bring that community together in beautiful housing like this is what everybody deserves." Everybody deserves? It is taxpayer funded, and each unit costs nearly $600,000, meaning that people like you and I pay for it with our taxes while we work at our jobs, often away from our families. Now, I have a heart for people with disabilities, but that's not what we're talking about here in every case. They're generally available to those that make between 30 and 50% of the area's median income. I mean, wouldn't you like a view from the 15th story or the 19th story like these people are getting? And the building will have an entire floor of offices for caseworkers, plus a list of pretty impressive amenities for the residents. A gym, an art room, a music room, computer room, and library. Residents will enjoy 6 common balconies and a cafe. That's what they're getting here. Looks pretty nice. I mean, this is better than how a lot of Americans live that fund their home themselves, yet this is considered affordable housing. And we'll hear just quickly from a couple of the residents to be here soon. Let's break down the funding a little more. The $165 million project, it's receiving permanent financing from a proposition that voters overwhelmingly passed back in 2016. All right, well, at least people got their say in part of the funding, but it's also receiving state housing funds and $56 million in state tax credits. And the president and CEO of the building, he said the goal is to keep the tenants engaged. He went on to say, quote, "You can do just about anything you want within this building. It's a regular apartment. Anything you want? And everybody deserves this." All of the units, they have been matched with homeless people, and future residents who attended the opening, they were able to see their new home for the first time. And here's what some of the residents had to say.
When I was homeless, I was looking at it like there's nobody out there. It was like a little dark hole, you know what I'm saying? Like it was just me. I went from being in that hole, just coming out the hole, like it's a lot of support and love out here. So I don't know, I'm so speechless right now, just like, you know what I'm saying? I'm happy. I want to see my unit. It's like, you know what I'm saying?
Especially with me being this young, I would hate to just be an eyesore. I would want somebody to help me out. So I'm glad that they're doing that around, not just for my age, but for everybody else too.
Well, as you know, as a watcher of this channel, I've interviewed a lot of homeless people in person as part of covering the affordable housing crisis. In my experience, exactly none of them want to take accountability for their circumstances. Instead, they want to blame everyone else, from the government to store owners to landlords. Giveaways like this building to the homeless, it sounds like a nice thing to do in the short term, frankly, but the homeless have a history of trashing the shelter that's given to them, and that's partly because they didn't have to work for what was given to them, and a taxpayer like you is the one being put to work indirectly in order to pay for it. A lot of these people just can't get their act together and be a productive part of society, but everyone's got their own story. One place where I'll cut these people a small amount of slack is that California home prices are almost obscenely expensive. And in a bit, we'll explore an entire county that has average, not nice, just average median housing values of $2.4 million. But let's go statewide first. According to the California Association of Realtors, the median price of an existing single-family home in the Golden State reached a new record of $908,040 this spring, freshly breaking the $900K mark for the first time. These are not homes in a prime location, not of a big size, just average and statewide. So that's not just Malibu mansions, that's remote Northeast California, that's undesirable, desolate Mojave Desert locations averaged into that, and that helps bring that number down, but yet it still averages $908K statewide, and by comparison, the national median is less than half that at $407K. This is nothing. Before we get into the why and how even shrinking California cities have skyrocketing real estate prices, let's look at some places. 2 entire California counties now have home prices north of $2 million. So not just averaging one block or one neighborhood or one elite city, $2 million is widespread as a county level. You'll also see a town shortly where they're now over $7 million in median price. These aren't asking prices, no speculation here. These are the values that they have actually sold for, and it's all according to a recent California Association of Realtors report. Median homes are now over $2 million. In which 2 counties, you might wonder? Well, they are both in the Bay Area. First, Santa Clara County, which includes San Jose, they notched a mark of $2.1 million this year. And the second county, that is where it spirals even higher. The second California county with median home prices of $2 million plus is San Mateo County. It basically lies between San Francisco and San Jose. That's where the median home price sold in San Mateo County, California, is $2.4 million. Not just one upper crust town, but a whole county. Not just $1 million, not even $2 million anymore, but $2.4 million, and with price momentum. And as a reminder, this is not for an over-the-top fancy home. This is just a median-priced home in the middle. Let's take a look at a live listing now and see how these homes look. And here we've got a home that's about dead average, $2.45 million in Burlingame, which is in San Mateo County, just a 3-bed, 2.5 bath, 2,160 square foot home and a small 6,000 square foot lot, 1-car garage built in 1952. Again, $2.45 million, which is about the spot on average for the entire county. And San Mateo County is also the home to the nation's most expensive zip code, Atherton, California. That's where the median home price tops the charts at $7.1 million. That stat is per Compass Real Estate. And if that's not enough, yeah, I talked about with momentum because homes are still flying off the shelves there. Their days on market are now the lowest since 2022. Well, all this sounds pretty astonishing right now, but you know what? If you're viewing this 10 years from now, you might think that these were the good old days. How quaint. These prices might have spread elsewhere along the U.S. coasts where the higher priced housing markets are, because over the next 10 years, we all expect more inflation, and we still got more housing shortage years between now and 10 years into the future. And of course, here at GRE, we don't tend to focus on the high-priced coastal markets. Things like this are just a harbinger of what's to come to more parts of the nation later, oftentimes. But prices are high in the Bay Area and Silicon Valley here because really it's an innovation hub, and we are squarely in the AI boom times. In fact, even California cities that are shrinking in size. With a population contraction, they also are seeing their home values skyrocket. And you might think that if, people are moving out of a city, oh, well, then it must be an undesirable place to live, right? I mean, that's what a lot of people think. So there'd be more sellers than there would buyers, and supply would exceed demand, and therefore prices would fall? No, it is just the opposite. Before I talk about why that is, let's look at what we're discussing here. As you look over this table, the column second from right shows the recent population loss. To the left of that, the column shows the price change during those times of loss. And then to show that lag effects are being accounted for, the rightmost column shows the home price change over the past 3 years. Several Cali cities with shrinking populations saw home values spike by more than 20% over the same time period, and dozens of others saw more modest gains between 10 and 20%. The biggest jumps were found in wealthy cities and suburbs like 3 beachside communities, Carlsbad, Santa Barbara, and Newport Beach, and then the family-friendly San Ramon and Pleasanton. In at least 23 California cities, populations shrank, yet the home values spiked. So what's going on? How could this possibly be? Oh, well, there are a lot of reasons that even with a shrinking population, home values can still rise. First, there is obsolescence. Some properties just wear out, they become dilapidated, and they can't be lived in anymore. That shrinks supply, but that figure is usually a pretty small proportion. But when NIMBYism and strict zoning requirements and red tape make new building difficult, well, that can contract net new supply. And then there's California's Prop 13. What that does is that keeps homeowners' property taxes super low, so then people don't want to sell their homes and lose that good deal. And I discussed that fully on another recent video that you can check out here, where I discuss how that limits California's available housing supply. But still, what about the falling population? Well, higher prices don't always reflect higher values. Okay, what's the difference there? Well, you've got to adjust for inflation. With an elevated amount of dollars being printed since the pandemic, well, you just have more dollars chasing the same amount of goods or properties, and that makes their dollar-denominated price go up because the value of each dollar is weaker. And in times of high inflation, I mean, really what wealthy people do is they just want to get out of their dollars and park them in real estate, which tends to float up with inflation, even if that property won't be occupied. Okay, so to a lot of people, it's an investment, an inflation hedge more accurately. And what's another substantial factor here where even in falling population, prices rise? And really, this is something that's happening nationally too. It's that California has a shrinking headship rate. And this means that fewer people are living per household. People are having fewer children, and the pandemic accelerated the lower headship rate too. And here's a super simple example. Just say that 10 people live in 5 homes. Well, that's 2 people per household, and then the population drops from 10 to 9. Well, those 9 people want to live in 6 homes. Well, now that's just 1.5 people per household. So right there, the population dropped, yet more homes are occupied. And this demonstrates exactly how it takes more housing in order to shelter fewer people, driving demand even in a falling population. And you can see here that California's household size keeps dropping, another contributor to rising prices in a contracting population. And California just keeps losing population overall, although it's slight, just a couple tenths of 1% per year at times recently. Overall, with higher regulation and more taxes and more homelessness, is California about to collapse? If you want to know more about this, its future, its demography, and its geography, watch geopolitical expert Peter Zion and I break that down together on California's future right here.